I would go out on the limb right now, Naama, and say that Hoshaya is not known for its production of professional athletes, especially women professional basketball players. I want to ask you a little bit to tell me about your childhood, how you got into basketball, and what it was like growing up on the yeshuv, your friends, and again, how basketball became such an important part of your life.
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited. And yes, I am part of a big family. I have 8 siblings. I have an oldest sister and then 2 brothers after, and I'm the 4th. And I think growing in a large family, I like to compete from the beginning, and I enjoyed sports from the beginning. And although basketball or sport wasn't the most popular things for a girl to do, that's what I like to do. And I loved basketball and sports ever since I remember myself. So at that point, I think I first started on a team when I was in 4th grade. We didn't have enough girls, so I had to play with the boys. Back then I had no choice, but today I know it helped me to be a better player because the competition was a lot harder. But I liked doing it. I liked playing, and so I did it. I didn't care. I didn't know other girls doing it, and I can tell you that now there is more than one girls team in Oshaya. So things have changed.
Okay. Were you encouraged along the way when you were getting old? If you're 7, 8, 9, grade 4, that's but when you were getting a little older, grade 6, 7, did people try to discourage you from playing, whether it's in the yeshuv, in the schools that you went to, saying it's not a nice job for a Jewish girl? Start with that.
I don't remember. So I don't know if I don't remember that because I ignored it and I didn't want to pay attention to that kind of stuff. But I just remember this. I remember the support, and from my family, from the community, from the school. People came to the games. People want me to do well. So even maybe, yes. I remember one time they did an article about me, and I went to see all the talkbacks or everything that people write, and people would say she's not Jewish, she's not religious, she's not. But I didn't care. I don't know if I was naive enough to not care, and because when I'm thinking now about a little girl hearing about all these things, I don't know how, but back then I didn't care.
Okay, now a lot of kids play sports, right? And even a lot of religious kids play sports. When did you start to either dream of, or whether it was an all-time dream since you were a kid, or actually realize that you could really go beyond playing in Hoshaya, that you could be potentially someone playing in college and for the Israel national team? When did that crystallize as a reality for you?
So I didn't grow up having a big dream to make it to college. I didn't know there is college basketball. I didn't watch women's basketball in Israel. I just watched men's basketball. So I didn't have a dream, a specific dream or a specific target that I wanted to achieve. I just played because I had fun, because I enjoyed the competition, because I enjoyed winning. And I believe that towards the end of high school, that's when I actually started to think, okay, what's next? Is that something I want to do professional? And then that's when I started to hear about the college basketball. I didn't know a lot. I've heard some players who are older than me who went there, but I didn't know enough about it. And when I started to think about it and to hear about it, I knew I have an option now or never. I'm I believe most of people know that you can play professional and then go play college basketball. So I couldn't, stay for a year or two, play professional, and then go. I had to decide toward the end of high school if I want to go play college, and it was scary. I didn't know English. Hopefully my English is good enough now.
Excellent.
But back then I barely made the bagrut, what we do here in high school, and I didn't know how I'll be able to adjust with the English, with far away from the family, with as a Orthodox Jews among not Jewish people, like basketball wise. There were a lot of questions for me, but I knew I have a chance now or never, and I didn't want to miss it. And also I knew that I can always go back home. So that's mainly like the reason I decided to go to college, but I didn't grow up having a big dream about it.
And nowadays, if you go to YouTube or who knows online, you can find videos of kids like 10 years old, literally, and younger. Their parents or coaches start producing videos so that colleges will recognize them when they're 12 and 13 and start, they can't recruit them yet. But nowadays the kids are well known. How did University of Toledo, which is not even the biggest city in Ohio has a lot of big cities. How did University of Toledo, which is a Mid-American conference, it's a Midwest city, how did they find you in Hoshaya? And what were you do? Were you playing during high school? I guess I don't know what school you went to. Did they have what basketball?
For here we play for clubs. We play for high school. There is an high school league, but the main league in those ages are you play for clubs. And like I think Miriam said, I played for Emek Israel. But so only towards the end of my senior year, I started to look to find a college, and it's a crazy story, but Trisha Kolop, she's the coach of University of Toledo, and their agent, he knew an Israeli agent who heard about me. And she just came to Toledo and she was looking for a point guard, and it was kind of late of the recruiting season. So she talked to her agent, do you know any European player, maybe that she does, maybe didn't find a team yet. So that's how they came to me. Actually, I was somebody, I don't even remember who it was, helped me to look for some other colleges, other universities, but Toledo found me, and that's how the connection started.
Okay, so you alluded just to a little bit, I guess, fear of that. Can you describe that also? What was your family's reaction to sending their young daughter 7,000 miles away to play basketball in not the most probably observant Orthodox college? You could have gone to Stern College.
Right.
Free basketball.
When my family first saw that I'm serious about going, I think they were like, okay, we'll see. But they always were had their support all the time. They used to come to games. They wanted the best for me, and they trusted me that if I want to do it, I'll be able to handle it. But yes, I was scared, but I don't know. Like I said, maybe I was naive enough to feel that I'll be okay. Worst case, I can come home, and I don't know how, but I'll find a way. That's something in me was always saying I'll be fine, and that's how, because it's a scary move to go to, like you said, not the most the environment I went to wasn't like I'm used to. So I don't know how, but I guess I was brave enough to do it.
Okay, I would continuing on that in terms of your playing career there. So I think most of us rabbis and people who are concerned about Judaism and bringing people closer, I think should be jealous of the fact that we speak about Shabbos and Shabbat and the Jew, and you know, hopefully will affect some people. But you were on the world stage. You know, every time that there was a story about you, and we'll get to the NIT championships and others, but you became an internationally known person. And every time the story was about that you keep Shabbos, that you keep the Shabbat, that you don't, that when your teammates are at a press conference, you're walking back to the hotel, that you couldn't participate in cutting down the nets and things. So explain, can you tell us a little bit about, because there were some critics of this as well. There are critics of this, and tell us a little bit about how it came about that you were given a heter. You know, you're Rav, you're posek, your authority. For those of you not familiar with these words, in Judaism, generally we have a rabbi, an authority that we ask questions of halakha, of Jewish law, and you were given the answer that you could play. If you want to talk a little bit about that, and also again, and the critics who would say to you, you're, like you said before, even about in high school or before that, she's not really religious. How can she play basketball, etc. So you can just tell us a little bit about that.
First of all, for a long time, I didn't like the fact that I was Naama Shafir, the Orthodox Jew basketball player. I wanted people to appreciate me because the way I play, not because I'm different. And with the years, I understood that that's who I am. And also along the way, I had many girls talking to me, and I heard that they heard about my story and they got motivated by it. So I understood that I can separate it. Yes, I'm trying to be the best basketball player I can be, so people appreciate my game. But also, I'm Jewish. I'm from Israel. I'm all that, and that's part of me. So it took me some time to I didn't try to be a model for other girls, but it took me time to understand that's I guess that's I became one. So growing up, the first time I felt that maybe there is a conflict between playing basketball and also observe and keep my beliefs is when I started to play for the national team. So when I was 15, that's the first time I started to play for the under 16 team of the Israeli national team. And we had a tournament in Europe, and we had some games in Shabbat. That's the first time we went to the rabbi of our hometown of Oshaya to ask him what can I do? And I tried to explain it in English, but he told us that obviously we all know we don't work on Shabbat, and I believe that basketball is not work, but the practice for the game is the work that we put to for the games. And so he suggested that I won't practice on Shabbat, but as long as I can walk to the games, and obviously there are not Jewish people who walk everything around, I can play the game but not practice. So ever since then, so when I was 15, I don't practice on Shabbat, but if there were games, I played. And like you said, some people disagree. Some people believe that's not the right way, and it's okay. That's their opinion. It's okay that people have different opinion and different way they live their life. And I know that I'm 100% okay with what I do. I do what I believe, and that's why it's okay if people think it's not okay. They don't have to do it.
Okay, how did your teammates respond to this? You know, I don't think there are any other Jews on the team. I'm guessing that some of your teammates had never even met a Jew, possibly. So
for in the national team at the beginning, it was easy because they're all Israelis. They all know Jewish people. They all know religious people, and it was easy. And I believe that before I came to Toledo, they did they looked up to see what it's all about. But at the beginning, it was I'm sure it was they learned a lot. I remember at the beginning, I used to turn on my phone after Shabbat and see a lot of messages, but with the time I didn't, because they knew I won't answer my phone. I remember at the beginning, my freshman year at the beginning, we got our schedule, and a, a lot of practices. You practice from 3 to 8, but on Friday we practice from 3 to 5:27. And then Saturday practice started 6:29, and all the girls look at the schedule and told the coach, there is something wrong with your computer. And he looks, it's like, oh no, this is Naama's time. That's when sundown on Friday, that's time she's got to finish practice, and on Saturday, that's when she can start practice. And that coach, on the road, he had a GPS for, he's not Jewish or not Israeli or nothing. He had a GPS for kosher restaurant, and he had an app for Shabbat times. And he's not Jewish, but with the time, the entire team and the entire coaching staff, they just welcomed me and understood that's what I believe in. That's my religion, and if that's what we need to do for Naama to be part of the team, that's what we're gonna do. I was just happy I was able to give them back on the court, so they don't feel they do it for no reason. But yeah, there are many stories, and I'll tell a funny story. We talked about Purim, and they were celebrating Halloween, and everybody was wearing costumes, and they started to ask me, Naama, do you celebrate Halloween in Israel? And I said no. And they were like, so you never wear costumes, you never dress up? And I said, we do, we have a different holiday, it's called Purim. And they asked me to tell them about it. And it was my freshman year. I was like, how am I gonna tell them about Purim in English and explain it? So I did my best. I tried to tell them the story about the Megillah and why we dress up. And when I finished, I saw the entire team looking at me and I found out they all were listening. It was like, wow, yours is much better. So that's just a funny story how like I was scared at the beginning, but with the time I found out that it's all good.
I'm on another Zoom.
Yes,
I'm on a different Zoom.
so just to follow up on that a little bit as well. So if I recall, I remember reading stories that that some of your team, like you would, if you had a game on Shabbos, on Shabbat, I think typical games would start at 2 o'clock, right? I think in college, 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever it was, right? So you'd have a few, 2-3 hours before Shabbos, so you'd walk back to your hotel. Were there times that some of your teammates would accompany you as well? They'd walk back, not take the bus, eat kosher. What about kosher food? I mean,
When we have a game on, for example, on Wednesday, we all go on a day before. We stay in the hotel, so we don't come tired to the game. We have breakfast, we have shoot around, and it's like every time we travel the day before. And if we had a game on Shabbat, and everybody was traveled on the bus on Friday, one of the coaching staff and usually one of my teammates always drove separate early enough with me so I can make it on time. And if we had to go back before Shabbat is over, so if it was too much time, everybody drove on Shabbat and one of the coaching staff stayed with me. But if it was almost over, so they all stayed with me. They all knew to look outside to see to look if they see 3 stars so we can leave. But they did. It's crazy what they did for me. We made sure we always had a kosher meal that I brought with me to the game, so I can still eat healthy, because we do sports, so we need to eat healthy. But they made sure if the entire team stays in hotel that was far from the gym, they found a different hotel that close enough in a walking distance that I can walk to the game, and one of my teammates always stayed with me, and one of the coaching staff in a next room. So they did everything that to make sure I feel comfortable and I can be part of the team.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. I want to ask you about opponents. Did any of the opponents that you played or in tournaments, and when you had the chance to actually maybe socialize even, staying over a couple of days, did any opponents say things to you in a negative sense and a positive sense, interested about Judaism, but Israel, Israel, of course, is a major flashpoint for a lot of people. What were your experiences with that?
I don't remember any experience, any negative experience, to be honest. Maybe because when on the court we all look the same. So I don't know if people didn't know or they just didn't care about it. But even on campus in Toledo, I don't remember any. And people knew about the Jewish basketball player, but I know I've heard about a lot of situation in different places, but I'm glad that I didn't experience any of that.
Well, you just mentioned that everyone on the court looked the same, but not maybe 100%, because you, of course, always wore a T-shirt under
Right.
in your uniform. And in fact, that became a major flashpoint, I believe, in 2011, when FIBA, which is the International Basketball Association, was not going to allow you to play in the tournament representing Israel. And there was a whole back and forth. And they ultimately, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, what you went through during then, and your teammates, and the pushback and the support that you got about. I mean, I remember there was an interesting article by somebody, I think from Reeve, who was very upset with the certain segments of the Israeli population, maybe I think he defined them as more feminists, that didn't necessarily support you, and that he made the point if you were another religion, they would, so I wanted, if you can just respond to that a little bit, the support you did feel or not feel, and what the solution finally was that allowed you to play for the national team in the international tournaments.
So in college, I didn't have this problem because anyone can wear a t-shirt, a long sleeve, short sleeve, you can do whatever you want. But in Europe, they're a lot more strict about the rules. And you said 2012, I don't remember exactly the year.
11, but okay.
11, man, you probably remember it better than me. When it was, I think I was on the under 20 team. I still wasn't on the national team. I was on the under 20 national team, and that's when they started to say that I cannot wear a t-shirt under. The next game, my entire team wore a t-shirt to warm up, but they didn't allow us to play. So until the end of the tournament, I played with like I'm injured, like they taped me, like we made a t-shirt. But I didn't like this solution because it's not comfortable. It's not. I felt like I make a joke out of myself, and for a while we tried to find a good solution without making the entire team to wear a different jerseys that are t-shirt, that it's just a t-shirt. It's not like it's a sleeve jersey. But I tried different things. I didn't like it, and finally few years after, the coach decided, okay, if we need the entire team to wear t-shirts to play, that's what we're gonna do for Naama to play. So the past few years, the entire Israeli national team uniforms are t-shirts. And I know they're a very good friend of mine. My teammates are some of them are very good friends, and they prefer to wear a no sleeve shirt, but they know that's what they need to do for me to play, and they prefer that. And they can tell me, oh my God, I can't believe I do it for you, but they'll still do it, and they'll do it with a smile.
I think you also deserve credit. I think about 3-4 years ago, there was also a controversy with FIBA with the hijab. I don't know if I think during your time when you were in college, I think there was a player for Memphis and then Indiana State who was pretty good, who was a Muslim a Muslim American who played with a hijab, but I think FIBA would not allow her to play, and then they overturned, I believe, the rule. They now allow hijabs to play basketball. I think you probably get a lot of that credit for starting the whole issue of showing that, we have religious values and we can play basketball like that.
So I think that's why they're scared, that if they're allowed one thing, everybody's gonna ask for something different. I to this day, I don't understand why they care about it so much, that one player will have a t-shirt under the jersey and the rest won't. But I'm glad we found a way to figure it out.
Okay, that's great. So if you want to just speak a little bit about also your current situation, you got married a little while ago, I think. Somebody from your yeshuv that you grew up with, American parents, and
Right.
you have a daughter. If you can just maybe talk a little bit about what it's like to be a basketball player. You obviously had to take off some time, and being a mother right now. And as part of that question, obviously, I'm sure you want your daughter the best for her, but can you will you encourage her to follow in your footsteps if she has the skill and talent to play basketball?
Okay, first of all, yes, we are. I'm a woman, and if you wanna start a family, you can't do sport. You can't play sport forever, and I got to the point that I knew that I wanna start we wanted to start a family, and I knew there is an option that I'm not gonna play again, and I was fine with it. I was okay. I was okay for the next step, and we had Yuval. She's 1 year and 2 months almost. And after I had her, up 6 months after, I was like, okay, what's next? I was home for 6 months, and I started to think, okay, what I want to do next. And then I was maybe I'll try to play again. I was out of shape. I needed to do a lot of practicing to try to see if I can come back. But I started to work out, and I signed with the team, with Elitzur Ramle, the team that I've played before. And now I'm playing, and it's crazy. I never thought I would play after I have a kid. And it's nice. Hopefully, with the Corona situation, she'll be able to come and watch some games. So far, she's sleeping. You see, she's been sleeping for an hour. So usually she's gonna have to stay a little longer to be able to watch the games. But I'm glad I was able to do it. I don't really know how long I want to continue. I don't know if this is gonna be my last year, if I'm gonna try to play another year. But whatever it is, I'm glad, and I'm happy with the career that I had. And if this is gonna be my last year, I'm okay with it. And what I want for her, that's a good question. I definitely want her to play sport, not necessarily professional, but I want her to like to be active. And every parent says whatever makes the kid happy. So hopefully, I say it now, but hopefully whatever makes her happy will make me happy too. But we'll see. She's still young, and I'm waiting to see if she's gonna like sport or not.
Okay, she's going to grow up to be a hockey player. You'll see. She'll be the
I'll let you know.
Israeli hockey player in the new professional women's hockey league. You'll see, and she'll be the first observant Jew there. So, okay, well, we haven't had an observant hockey player. That's a little more difficult to do. But there was in the 70s. There was a guy called Dan Thomas. I believe he played in 75, 76. As you can see, I'm a little into sports.
Yeah.
That's my dream. He was shortstop from Milwaukee. He was a Seventh-day Adventist. And he actually did not play on Shabbos, and he was good, and he wasn't a great hitter. He was a great defensive shortstop. He played for a couple of years, not playing on Shabbos. So even a professional, it could be possible to do it if you're a Wayne Gretzky or that type of guy, or a Naama Shafir, hopefully. But here there are no professional games on Shabbos. That's not an issue, right?
That's good.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, you can send it to the chat group. But I wanted also to ask you, we have people here and watching here and also Facebook, etc., from both the students and also non-students. You've been very successful at what you've chosen to do in your life, and people who are successful usually have good advice. And I wanted to ask you what advice you might give for anybody, whether it's somebody who's into, a girl who's 12 right now, or a boy who's 13, and religious, could be non-religious also, but especially people who, like I said, might think that these things are not really open to me. But just what advice you give to people about following your dream, and to be a little cliched, and to meet that success. What was it in your life that got you to this level, in terms of just preparation, etc. If you can talk about that a little bit, and what advice you give.
Can you hear me? Because
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I would say that try. If you want to do something, if you're not sure, if there are questions in your life and if you're scared from the outcome, you'll never know if you won't try. And for me, I prefer to try and understand that I made a mistake or I was not good enough, instead of living with a question my entire life. I didn't know I would be able to play in college, be part of a team, survive it for 5 years. I thought I'll stay for 2 months maybe and go back home. But because I tried, I was able to do it. So it's okay to not succeed if you tried, that you do your best. In basketball, we finish games and we watch the film, we correct mistakes, and we try to come better for the next game. So same thing with life. If at the end of the day you can look at the mirror and say, I did my best, I gave everything. It can be school, it can be anything. Then you can be happy with yourself, and doesn't matter what the outcome is. You gave your best. But if you look at the mirror and say, I wish I could take the time back and do things different, that's something that you can't change. So do your best, not having that feeling that I wish I could take the time back. And like I said, I'm glad I was able to go to college, to go play basketball, even though I didn't know any religious girl who did it before me. But it wasn't easy. It sounded like, I did this, I won here. It wasn't easy. During the day, there are a lot challenges and obstacles and things that don't go exactly the way you want them to go. But it's okay. It won't be fun at the end if it was that easy. So don't be scared if things don't go perfect. I hope that's good enough.
That's great. Okay, we want to thank you for this really, I think, fascinating discussion. Again,